I have in front of me Studio Series 86 Devastator. One thing everybody asks is he really that good? And I have to say he is. Today we're going to do more of a technical review of this figure. A lot of you may know that this figure is supposed to look like the animation character in the cartoon and in the movie. But a lot of us wonder, how does he compare as a toy to the past incarnations of this character? So let's explore some of the features that this toy has. First of all, you'll notice that in terms of size, he's a lot smaller than the Combiner War or the United Warriors version. The United Warriors / Combiner War Devastator stands at 18 inches. This guy stands just a little under 13 inches. So there's a 5-inch difference, but that 5-inch difference makes a huge difference in stability. For those of you who has the Combiner War United Warrior version of this toy, one of the things you notice is that when you try to move him or try to peg him, the joints can get very floppy. The tabs don't come together well, and overall it just don't seem to hold together very well due to the sheer size and weight of that figure. This toy, however, as you can see, it is put together quite well. Everything snaps in place. You can articulate his joints, you can move his legs, and he doesn't come apart. The pieces doesn't come apart, and more importantly, he still stands. One thing you may notice, however, is that in terms of what he looks like, one drastic improvement over the Combiner War United Warrior Devastator is that Mixmaster actually looks like the Mixmaster that we all know from the TV show. Unlike the modern cement mixer that we saw in the Combiner Wars United Warriors series, Hasbro has listened to the fans and they understood that this is what they wanted. So let's take a look at this guy from the front. As you can see right now, this is what he looks like from the show. You got the black forearms, the purple fists. You have Mixmaster's purple drum. You have the same expression and the look of Devastator's face from the cartoons. And of course, you got the chest wing piece, which stands out as his as what you would see as part of this giant. The other thing that people would know is that unlike the previous Devastators in the post G1 era, they do have this one piece, the waist piece, which is not a part of long haul. So from the Combiner Wars series, the United Warriors toy, this part is actually integrated with long haul. That is why long haul for the Combiner War and United Warriors toy looks very stubby when he's in robot mode. The other thing you may notice is that the color scheme is a lot more unified. So there's no difference in the plastic quality. Everything, or from all the angles that you see of Devastator here, they all have the same green matching throughout. There is one glaring aesthetic nitpick that I do have with this toy is that you'll notice there's this opening, this square opening right about where Hook's head should be. This, however, you cannot close the panel, and this is something that you just have to pretend is not there. So in terms of aesthetics, it's almost perfect. Now I'm going to turn this guy around. So as you can see, very much like Combiner Wars Devastator or United Warriors Devastator, he also has a backpack. The backpack makes a large portion of this character's rear perspective. So even though it is a large piece, it does not hinder the balance of this figure. It doesn't fall backwards. And more importantly, it is there so that when you articulate him, he does not shift around and it doesn't come apart. You'll also notice that from this angle, you can see the individual Constructicons and how they are put together. So for example, Mixmaster and Scrapper, you can see there's a joint piece from the leg extension where they couple onto, and then once you have them coupled onto, they become an integral part of this extension piece. You'll also notice something different with Long Haul's back, and that is, you can see this trailer hitch that is part of that toe piece, that toe package. when Long Haul hooks up to this waste piece when he transforms into a dump truck. Now you also would notice from this perspective that Bone Crusher and Scavenger both has the same engineering that you see in the Combiner War and United Warrior series. You also see that Scavenger uses the same transformation schema where the chest is folded out to form part of the forearm, where you put the right fist and right forearm onto this chunk. So this is how everything kind of combines together. The other major thing is you'll notice how everything is pinned together between Hook, which is the top, the head and shoulder module, with Long Haul. You'll notice that with Long Haul, the way that Hook is clasped onto Long Haul, his arm, there's a tab piece on his arm where it hooks onto, or Hook's arm comes onto Long Haul's rear, his back, so that you can actually pig it in for the extra stability. You also notice that on the side piece, the treads for both Bone Crusher and Scavenger is also pigged onto the side, even though they do have a sliding mechanism that allows them to rest onto Hook's pegs when you transform it into shoulder mode. I'll turn this guy onto the side and you'll see additional differences. So I'll start with the left side. For Bone Crusher here, the bulldozer, for him to articulate, he actually has a pin piece that rests onto Hook's shoulder right here, so that when you slide Bone Crusher's main structure in there, it locks into place. And with this arm being able to articulate forward and backward by using Bone Crusher's waist as that shoulder joint, Hasbro actually use that piece and make it do double duty, so that you don't need to have an extra joint just for the arm. You can also see on the side that the wing piece, it tabs onto Bone Crusher's treads. So this actually gives it the extra stability that you need whenever you move Bone Crusher / Devastator's left arm. That way, when you move them, things don't pop out. Of course, you have your standard articulation. You have your elbow articulation for Devastator. And you also have the fist and hand articulation. Unfortunately, the thumb is a solid piece, so that doesn't move. Now we're going to look at Scavenger, or the right-hand side here. Sorry, I said the left-hand side before. So very similar to Bone Crusher, is hooked up the same way. You also have the tabbing design, where the wing keeps the treads in place. And Scavenger, being a steam shovel, you use the waist / vehicle rotation point as Devastator's right shoulder articulation point. So in this case, that joint serves a triple duty, whereas both a vehicle, the robot, the smaller robot, and Devastator's shoulder, right shoulder joint. So it does three things. Unfortunately, what a lot of people don't realize is that the reason why they have this waist articulation is that it facilitates Devastator's more action-focused poses. Whereas if you have the Combiner War Devastator or the United Warrior Devastator, it kind of lacks that dynamic pose possibility because it's more rigid, it's more brick-like. Whereas this Devastator, it gives the fan what they want. It gives them that the option to pose them in poses that you see them in the movie and in the cartoons, and also makes them more playable. It gives them that play value. What's more is that when you put Devastator on one leg, he actually balances out. Unlike Combiner War Devastator and United Warrior Devastator, because of the sheer size, the engineering, and the weight, the upper weight of the toy, it cannot do that. And part of the reason why is there's a scene in the movie where Devastator did a high kick at Grimlock as he was landing to confront him during the first part of the movie. And in this case, he almost can get that pose up. I'm going to see if I can do that. Where he did the high kick. Very similar to this pose. So as you can see, he's not only stable, but he's also posable to replicate some of the scenes you would see in the movie. He's also stiff enough so that you don't have to worry about him falling over. You can actually keep him in this pose for as long as you like, and until you put him into a different pose. Now, I want to show you how well engineered this thing is. And I'm going to start by taking him apart. But before I do that, I want to show you some of the accessories he comes with. He obviously comes with the pieces that you need to put him together. You have the wings, the arm pieces, and the waist piece. But he also comes with a gun. This gun also comes in half, like so. So if you want, you can put each part in one hand. Or if you like the old traditional Devastator's rifle, you can do so by just putting everything together and put it on one of his hands. Unlike the Combiner War Devastator, but not the United Warrior Devastator, the Studio Series 86 Devastator, or the individual Constructicons rather, they all comes with their own individual weapons. So you have all these weapons that go onto each of these Constructicons, they all fit. But you may notice that there's one weapon that has a slightly different color scheme. Now this belongs to Long Haul. Why does this look different? It's because in the cartoon, Mixmaster actually has a toe. But in this case, they don't have that in there. So what you can do is you can actually take the handle of the gun and put it in one of these posts, these ports. Like put this onto one of the ports here. And what it does is that it serves as a toe for Devastator. For me, it looks a little strange because it would have been nice if this is all green. But right now what you have is you have like a toe piece that's like half green and half black. What it does is that it actually gives Devastator even better balance if you want to pose him in more dynamic action poses. So I'm just going to put these aside. Now we're going to talk about how this guy is put together. And a lot of you may recognize this, the way that this guy is put together, because a lot of the engineering is borrowed from the Combiner War or the United Warrior Devastator toy. So I'm going to start from the top and I'm going to work my way to the bottom. As I mentioned before, the mechanism to hook onto Scavenger and Bone Crusher, it's very similar to the Combiner War toy, where Hook has two pegs that comes out, and then you basically slide the two arm components onto those pegs. I'll start with Bone Crusher. So with Bone Crusher, what you want to do is, if you want to release him from Devastator's combined form, you unpeg the wing, and then you can actually fold it out. Okay, and then from this point on, you pretty much just slide this up. So as you can see, there's a groove on the base of Bone Crusher's waist, and on Devastator's left arm or left shoulder, you see that he has this peg that comes out of the crane module. And what that does is, if you want to like transform him into a crane or transform him back to Hook, you just put that peg piece back in. So that's how it is. Unlike the previous incarnations of Bone Crusher, right? You don't actually have this as the joint. You actually have the robot waist as the joint. Okay, so we'll move on to the right arm, or Scavenger. Scavenger, very much the same as Bone Crusher. There's also a hook piece on the right shoulder. So what you do is, once you release the wing from the chest, all you have to do is just grab on and just slide them back up. You'll notice that the engineering is very, very similar to Bone Crusher's, if not identical. So also very much like his left shoulder, Hook has this piece where all you have to do is just lift up the crane cab, swivel the pig back in so that when he's in robot mode or crane mode, it's hidden. In fact, with the sculpt is integrated right into the crane cabin, so you don't even see it. Moving on to Hook. He forms the shoulder and head module. So the way he's pegged together, he's actually pegged together quite securely compared to the past incarnations of this toy. So I'll show you what is involved. You'll see right here, there is a pig or a tab with a post that goes onto the feet of this smaller robot. And as I mentioned before, there's a tab on the arm that goes onto one of the ports on Longhaul's back. So those are the two pigs that you can take out. And then there's, of course, another one right here. There's a small black tab. I don't know if you can see it. That goes underneath Hook's waist. So that you have these three tabs that keeps everything in place that contributes to the sturdiness of this figure. But wait, there's more. Now that you release all these tabs, you'll see that there's additional tabs that you can use to tab these two components together. So Hook has a pig that comes out of his chest right here that goes onto this hole on top of Longhaul's cabin. And you may notice that Longhaul's chimney for his dump truck mode also has this pig that goes onto Hook's foot when he's in the shoulder module form. So all in all, there's actually 5 points of pigging that contributes to the stability of this version of Devastator. Okay, so I'm gonna put Hook aside, and now we're gonna go on to Longhaul. Now, Longhaul is somewhat controversial in this incarnation of Devastator, and the reason why is because they kind of cheated in the engineering. And what I mean by that, unlike the previous versions of Longhaul, he is just one piece, or most of the connection points are integrated with the toy. Not this version. This version is, I'll show you. So what you do first is you unpeg everything. You pretty much just take Longhaul out of his torso form. And all you have to do is just take this guy out. And this is pretty much Longhaul in his torso form. You'll see that a majority of the torso is still on the toy. Why is that? That's because this piece right here is a non-transforming accessory piece that you connect Scrapper and Mixmaster to. So in a way, the reason why this figure is so successful is because it did not rely on the engineering of just one central figure to hold everything together. In this case, Longhaul. They went around, identified the weaknesses of Combiner War / United Warrior Devastator, and kind of took the problems from that toy, took it out, make a separate piece for it, so that the problem or the solution all lies with this one piece. So I'm going to move on to taking Scrapper and Mixmaster off so you can see this piece. So from Scrapper, very similar to the Combiner War United Warrior version of this toy, all you have to do is you just take the back out, or just flip it up, and then you just separate the legs like so, and keep in mind it's very well tabbed together. So as you can see, Scrapper has this hole or this port which goes onto this pig right here, and he has a similar structure on the other side as well. So you can see there's these pigs on both sides, and Scrapper has these two ports where you put it into the pig. So for this guy, Very similar to Combiner War Devastator or United Warrior Devastator. It uses the same type of engineering, except with United Warrior and Combiner War Devastator, you flip the leg up just to give them the extra height. And the reason why that is because it did not have the benefit of this leg piece, of this extension piece. Now let's move on to Mixmaster. Mixmaster, same idea. Very similar to Combiner War Devastator. All you have to do is just flip out the cement mixer drum on the top, and then you slide them out, like so. And that's how you put Mixmaster onto that piece. So now that I've taken out all the Constructicons, you can see what this piece I was talking about looked like. So as you can see, it's almost the size of one of these Constructicon robots. And in a way, they kind of added a seventh figure just to make Devastator work the way that we wanted them to work. Is this cheaty? Yeah, oh, of course. I mean, it's easy to be to add extra parts into your Transformers to make things work. But at the same time, keep in mind that Studio Series 86 is meant for diehard fans who want their toys to look like the way they do in the cartoons. So sometimes there are design challenges that you need to address by adding pieces like this just to make things work. Now let's explore the individual robots. And I'm just gonna put everything aside here. You know what, better yet, I'm gonna put them back together. Then that way you'll see how you can put them together bit by bit. So with Mixmaster, simply swing out the concrete mixer drum part, slide it back in, and then close it. That's how you do Mixmaster. With Scrapper, separate the legs, slide it in, make sure that you get the pig onto the tab that's inside the waist piece. And then once you do the same with the other end. Now keep in mind, this is a very, very stiff connection here. So when you do that, make sure everything aligns first, because right now, as you can see, right, it's hard to get it in. So just do one side first and see. Hold on, just give me a sec. Like so. Okay. Now, when you do put this connection together, make sure the shovel for Scrapper is locked in, because if it's not locked in, he'll tip over under his own weight later. There is a tab down here that lets you lock the shovel in, so make sure you get that in. So the lower portion of Devastator is now complete. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but they do have ankle tilts built into Mixmaster and Scrapper, so you can actually put him in different poses where he can actually spread his legs out or have him like kind of splayed out, so that he can looks like he's like more battle ready than he is. Now to put Long Haul back in. So for Long Haul, there's this opening here, this port. All you have to do is just match it with this purple chunk. Slide it in. Make sure everything's lined up. Just give me a second. I have to make sure that this thing is closed. It is a little tricky, so just take your time with this one. Make sure it's snapped tight together. There we go. It has to line up, because if it doesn't line up, it just wouldn't go. So when you put the back together, make sure these two pegs goes into the ports here. So when you fold it, everything locks into place like so. Okay. Once that's done, make sure Long Haul's arms are set up like this, so you can put Hook onto the top of them. And with Hook, make sure that only one of the arms is folded out like this, because that's where the pig is, to tab this piece onto this hole here. So First of all, what you do is you make sure you get this peg and this peg onto long haul. That's the first step. Once you do that, then make sure this tabbed onto hook's waist. It is a little tricky because they all have to line up just right for it to combine properly, like so. And then make sure hook's arm goes onto this port right here so that it tabs in properly. Last but not least, make sure this this peg goes onto the hole on hook's foot. Once you have that, you should look something like this. Now, with Scavenger, he's very simple. Just turn him into a steam shovel, swing on his chest, apply the forearm and the fist. And what you do is you lift hook's crane cabin, swing out the tab, swing back the crane cabin, and then all you have to do is just slide this groove onto his peg like so. Okay? Again, make sure everything lines up. Snap it in, and there you go. Now for Bone Crusher or the left arm, again, just simply slide out the peg that's on the base of the crane. You will hear that little snap once you do it properly. Take what you did with the Scavenger, make sure the peg lines up with the groove. Okay. Slide it in, and you should hear that click sound. Last but not least, you swing up the chest piece, make sure the grooves on both treads lines up with these pegs on the wing. Swing it up. Lock everything in place. And there you have it. Studio Series 86 Devastator. There is one note I do want to make, and this is, I know a lot of people are saying that this Devastator is the perfect Devastator, but I do have a few issues with this Devastator in terms of the design. When you look at him carefully, right? Like, even though he has the arm articulation or whatnot, there is some limitation as to what he can and can't pose. Now, I'll give you an example. With the arms on Mixmaster, unlike Scrapper, where his robot arms are used as support, like the heel spurs, you can only move Mixmaster if you move his arms out of the way. Otherwise, the ankle pivot that I mentioned earlier would not work because the arms are in the way. So I'll give you an example. Right now, his arms are on his side, but you can't move the heel left and right because it's locked in place by the arms. However, if you lift the arms up, now you can move the left foot like it was intended to. But look what happened here. You have to raise Mixmaster's arm up like this. It looks very weird, especially if you're trying to pose him in robot mode and all you see is just these two robot arms sticking out for the sake of pivoting the foot. What's more is that you cannot fold the arms up. This is as high as it goes. So you can't even compact these arms so that is out of the way. My second problem is this back part. So even though like long haul's piece is right here, you have all these extra kibble that really doesn't serve any purpose. In fact, it kind of hinders his some of his articulation if you want him to bend backwards on the waist. So it only goes so far. The wings is a little tricky, so if you want him to look up, he doesn't have the head articulation. So you would have to do it from the waist. But again, the waist, it's very limited because of this panel, and there's nothing you can do to take that panel out of the way. Because if you bend him back only so much, this panel would stop him from bending back any further. So that's my second problem with this. Last but not least, with the way that he's designed, even though he can pose him and he's really well balanced, he cannot. There's only so much he can do to kind of lean forward and backward. And it's because even though he is smaller than Combiner War, United Warrior Devastator, he is still pretty top heavy. So if you don't use this gun, like the gun is a part of the toe for his left foot, sometimes the tabbing mechanism on the bottom of Scrapper, that doesn't always stay in. So he would lean forward, as you can see right now. He's leaning forward just a little bit. So it looks like he's almost going to fall over, but he's actually quite stable. Last but not least, I want to show you what he looks like next to another Transformer. So as you may have remembered in the movie, he's been shown along with other Decepticons, and he is quite tall. He is Devastator after all. I have with me Studio Series 86 Megatron. And as you can see, even though he does tower over Megatron, he is not as big as he was in the movie. In the movie, he towers over everybody. But because of the size, the shrinkage in the size, compared to his Combiner War United Warriors incarnation, he is nowhere near as big as he should be. The United Warrior Combiner War Devastator, he stands 18 inches tall. This guy stands just a little under 13 inches. So with Megatron here, just standing a little under 8 inches from head to toe, he's only twice the size as Megatron in this case. I guess is a nitpick, but for me, Devastator has always been a big guy. So when I'm looking at him compared to Megatron right here, it seems a little underwhelming, but don't get me wrong, he still looks really, really good. So no complaints there.